our Justice Thursday conversation today. And we're going to be looking at defying the bench. When government ignores court orders. And unfortunately, there is a list. To help us out in this conversation this morning, Wakili Evans Ogada joins us in the hot seat. Good morning, Wakili.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. It's good to be here after a very long while.
Karibu sana.
Discussing an unfortunate topic, but we must do what we must.
Oh, yes. Wow. The adjective that you've used is unfortunate. So I guess we already have an idea of where this conversation is going.
Oh, yes.
All right. So we're going to look into some of this stuff. It's going to be a wild ride. So, seatbelts up because you're going to need them. Before we do that, talking about another trip that Dennis has taken around the African continent. As you know, he will talk to us from Ghana, and we'd love to get your interpretation of the proverb.
Okay. Yes, we're in Ghana, Gold Coast, the home of cocoa but no chocolate. The home of fuel deposits but no fuel. And when asked the question, what are you doing with your resources? Perhaps something must be learned from that, because Kwame Nkrumah said that we must take advantage of what it is we have for us to build ourselves. Independence in Ghana must translate to the entire continent. So with all that they have, they must do something about it. But let's go to the proverb. The rain wets the leopard's spots, but it doesn't wash them away.
Whoa. The rain might be heavy, rain on the leopard, but the leopard remains what it is, the feral animal that it is. So no matter what hardships and everything come your way, you will remain what you are.
No matter what.
No matter what. Yes. Well said.
Okay. So, as we get into this conversation then this hour, looking at what it is that we seem to be surrounded over and over and over with, is that the courts pronounce themselves, the judiciary as an arm of government, and through the courts pronounces itself on certain matters. But unfortunately, in some cases, it seems to be then, okay, maybe you want to do this, maybe you don't. Now, the most recent one being the conservatory orders that the High Court then gave,
yes,
as the petition that was made by the Katiba Institute to stop this process of this quarantine facility,
yes,
by the United States, I guess a collaboration with the Kenyan government. But it seems as though that too was just, the court said something over there, but we're going to continue.
Yes.
First of all, when you hear that, what does it actually mean? Or actually, before we get to what when a court pronounces itself and gives orders, what does that mean? I know it sounds like a rudimentary question, but we have to ask it because it would appear as though it happens a lot, but nobody seems to do what the court says.
Well, in a constitutional democracy like Kenya, no person, no institution is above the law, at least as we decreed unto ourselves in the year 2010. So respect for court orders is not merely a legal obligation, it is a constitutional imperative. It is essential for the survival of democratic governance in this country. Because the moment we have these increased instances of defiance of court orders, we are breeding a culture of lawlessness. And Kenyans should not think that we are beyond what has been seen in other countries. The history and legacy of Tonton Makut and the lawlessness, the marauding gangs of Haiti started in this manner. The lawlessness we see in parts of West Africa started in this manner, where court orders are delivered.
Yeah.
But because you think you are a big man, a big woman, you will not respect them because I am beyond these edicts by the court. And I'm looking at the Standard newspaper before me, and I encourage your listeners and viewers to get a copy today. It's also a typical example of defiance of court orders, where somebody was sentenced for contempt. Before you are sentenced for contempt, it means you are given an opportunity to do something. You defied court orders.
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of complying to come and purge yourself of the contempt, what do? you organize, and you'll give us the usual cock and bull story of being off to Dubai. I mean, what are we doing? And these politicians should know that when people lose trust in the law and the institutions of the law, the alternative is we will gain the confidence of carrying our machetes and going to the streets. Is it Roosevelt who told us that? No, it was Eisenhower who told us that we need to remember what it was when we did not have law reigning roost in our country. In 2007, we all remember we were almost on the brink. 1982, for a brief few hours, we did not have law ordering our affairs.
Okay.
And that is where we are going. And you can see that trend tying to the gangs and the goons that politicians are nurturing all over the country.
Yeah.
We are igniting the embers.
Okay, many usually say the law is very clear. The law is very clear and we understand it. Court orders is the law. And you look at what the political class is doing. You look at what the police, the ones who are there to ensure that law and order is maintained, are disrespecting court orders. And Kenyans are asking the question, if you do not respect court orders, why should I? Should they be surprised? Should we be surprised that Kenyans are asking those questions today?
We should not be surprised. And I think what the politicians are doing, unfortunately, we have half-wits being the visage of Kenyan politics most of the time. What they are doing is a phenomenon called parallelism in constitutional law. Parallelism is usually where we have a parallel state of affairs created to shadow and undermine the Constitution.
Okay.
And this has a history. If those of you who care to remember, we have the history of a very beautiful constitution written in Germany, pre-Hitler Germany, called the Weimar Constitution. The Weimar Constitution was just as beautiful as ours. Separation of powers, very noble principles, a Bill of Rights. It was touted as a very good constitution. Now, the shelf life of that constitution was a brief few years for the reason that we had deliberate actions aimed at undermining it that eventually saw to its demise. And after that demise, we had the Third Reich and Adolf Hitler.
Yep.
And all of us know what Hitler did. So when you undermine, the court issues a warrant of arrest for Kerich. You ensure that he is cleverly taken out of Kenya and goes to Dubai, so that you go make clever arguments that, he is beyond the jurisdiction of the court.
Yeah.
You have undermined court orders. We have, and unfortunately I've been involved in some of these matters, and it usually annoys me. Martha Karua was awarded compensation by the East African Court of Justice. Not by one court, but the first instance court, and affirmed by the appellate court in Arusha. The government of Kenya has refused to pay that till today. We have the Haiti police deployment matter, where the court was explicit in saying that you cannot deploy these police officers because there are certain requirements by our law and the Constitution that you have not met. And unfortunately, we are seeing foreign countries, and I'm not afraid to say the Americans have been front and center in these two instances, Haiti and the Ebola one.
Yeah.
And they are aiding and abetting the undermine of the Kenyan Constitution and our values. And like I always tell them in private, the same way you have your values and principles that you cherish, same way you respect your institutions, please respect Kenyan institutions, respect our values. Because when Justice Nyaundi delivered her order, and I saw my friends at Katiba Institute notify the State Department, the Americans should have had the decency of stopping everything happening in Laikipia.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because they then did give a statement thereafter, actually yesterday. And what they said is that the first line, or maybe the second, was that they were aware of the, in fact, let me just pull that up, because what exactly they said was, in the statement that they gave out, and it came from the State Department, we are aware of the court action filed in Kenya, are actively working with the Kenyan government to resolve any objections and communicate our shared objectives to the Kenyan people. Now, that in and of itself is very clear that you can still have your court machinations over here, but there are people that we are going to talk to to kind of sort this out, because that's what they have said. We are aware of this, not that we are going to adhere to what the court has said, or that we're going to comply with what the government will do based on what the court has said, because that kind of language would have been indicative of a desire to actually abide by the rules or the laws of a sovereign state. That did not happen. So if the person that you're dealing with can undermine court of another country, how much more you, who is in a position where things should have been done?
It is a fundamental dignity question for us as Africans, because I imagine a court in the US granting an order, and then the US administration colluding with a foreign country to undermine domestic orders. It will ignite a furore.
Yes.
It will be hammers and tongs. But when it comes from countries in Africa, you've seen the current administration's attitude in terms of countries in the global south. The reference to us has been shithole countries. The contempt, the disdain. I will remind them that the way they expect to be respected, the way they respect their values, please respect our values. Please respect our people. Because Justice Nyaundi and the judiciary in Kenya is as a competent judiciary like any other. So when we are trying to nurture our democracy and nurture our institutions to be effective, they always preach to us the language of the rule of law. Constitutionalism. We need to be serious.
Wakili, that last statement that you've made is very interesting. Can you expect another state to respect orders when you yourself don't respect them? I'll give a couple of examples. 2 years ago, 4 gentlemen were taken from their homes. They were known as the Kitengela Four. The current deputy IG of police, one of them, Masengeli, was asked by court 7 times. 6 times he didn't show up. And the court pronounced itself and said, bring these men. At first it was come and explain, come and explain, come and explain. That happened 5 times. The 6th time it was, bring these men to us dead or alive. That did not happen. Masengeli showed up in court on the 7th time and said, oh, please, I'm very sorry. That afternoon, the 4 men miraculously turned up. Okay, that's one example. The current IG of police, Douglas Kanja, together with the DCI boss, had been summoned to court in yet another disappearance of another man. And the court said, come and tell us where these men are to date, the 4th of June. The DCI boss nor the inspector of police have shown up in court to explain where the gentleman was. He turned up. 41 judges during the Kenyatta administration, they were told, you need to hire 41 judges to fill courts because we don't have enough. That never happened. Teachers' pensions, court orders were given. That never happened. I mean, we could be listing them over and over and over again. But I have to ask, when a court issues orders and they are not adhered to, what is the... is it punishment? What is the pushback? What is the demand after it is very clear that they're not listening? What are you supposed to do? Because there's no way you can expect an other country to respect you in terms of your court orders when you yourself don't adhere to your own.
Well, unfortunately, I have been involved in most of those cases, the Masengeli case, the judge's appointment case, and I was in the middle of the arrogance by the powers that be towards those court orders. Perhaps the judiciary needs to develop some spine, because like the Masengeli case, I argued it. I was in court. And I remember telling the court then that we have run out of ropes to throw at Masengeli. This gentleman has basically flipped the bird at the court. He has shown you his middle finger. He has to face the law like any other person. The rule of law demands that we are equal and subject to the same law. If Ndu had defied the court once, I'm very sure you will have seen the brimstone and fire.
Very fast.
Very fast.
Yes.
But why is it that when it comes to Masengeli and they strut in court with all the splendor, guns, the regal of power, and that is aimed at intimidating and showing the court that sisi ndio wale wase mtadu. And to my disdain, the court dealt with the Masengeli matter in a way that I was not personally happy about. It should have been more firm. And it is my call to the Chief Justice. The time for niceties and quote-unquote diplomacy when court orders are at stake is gone. You are the political head of the judiciary. You need to defend your offices. We as LSK and our presidents, our members have done their bit in terms of trying to defend the rule of law as officers of the court. It is for the Chief Justice to think of drastic measures, including, and in some countries it has happened, when you have this intransigent habit of defying court orders, it can get to drastic measures taken. Like, for example, saying that we are not going to be rendering our services today. The judiciary should say we are not processing any prisoners, any remandees today. Only for a day, and you'll see the crisis that is in this country. So Martha Koome, Chief Justice, needs to be more firm in terms of demanding accountability and respect. Time for diplomacy and mollycoddling, these half-wits that I spoke about, is gone.
Wakili, when you look at judiciary and the police, all this is in the criminal justice system.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They should work together.
Yes. Because
when the court issues an order or even issues an arrest warrant, the court does not have the power to arrest.
Yes.
Then the police steps in and goes to arrest.
Yes.
Yet you find that those who are working or should work together with the judiciary are the very same ones who are undermining the judiciary. Judiciary finding themselves between the rock and a hard place?
Well,
or rather, how then do they deal with this matter if the institution that you depend on are the ones who are equally not helping you do your job?
You have to understand the legacy of the Kenyan police. It only changed the name from force to service under the Constitution in 2010. The forest may be different, but the monkey, the players are still the same. The mentality with the police service has been that of regime protection. In law and under the Constitution, the police service ought to be neutral. If you look at Article 245, for example, the cabinet secretary in charge of internal security only ought to issue policy guidelines.
Yes.
The operational command of the service is supposed to be under IG Kanja. But increasingly you're seeing the minister, the CS in charge of internal security, issue instructions in the nature of command directions. Right now I saw some photos of the CS internal security, a lawyer and a friend of ours, in New York, going to look at how to structure the Nairobi Metropolitan Police. You ask yourself, these are operational aspects. What is Arthur Johnston Sakaja and Murkomen doing in Washington? These are things that should have been done by IG Kanja and his officers. And you can see how enmeshed politics and the fangs of the executive are with the police service. And we have reports here. We have the Ransley report, the latest being the Maraga report, consistently pointing at the rot in the police service. So Kanja does not feel the obligation to respect the law. His is to respect orders from above. Your listeners and viewers will probably remember, back then, we had this provincial police officer based in Kisumu. What was her name? Unfortunately, and she was a lady, who said that for them, they don't respect the constitution and the law. All they know is orders from above and the standing orders. It shows you the mindset that for us, the constitution and the laws emanating from the constitution are mere suggestions. And this culture has been nurtured by the politicians. The police is there to protect our interests.
Well, can you raise something that is very critical then? Because we talk about a police service that changed its name.
Yes.
Not the structure and how they operate.
Yes.
Then if we're talking about the Constitution 2010 that came with all these changes,
Yes.
are the police protecting the law that they understand? Do they know what this Constitution demands of them? Or are they just blind to it because they have maintained the modus operandi as it was pre-Constitution 2010?
I can tell you that not all police officers are bad. We have some who are trying their level best to deliver in very difficult circumstances. And we applaud these good officers. Yeah. You saw the other day this OCS from Central, who exercised discretion as is required to exercise in law. What happened? He was now being harassed.
Yeah.
So we have those good officers who know. Our problem is up the top echelon. That is where the problem lies. And these ones are the ones who are beholden to politicians.
Okay.
They will frustrate their juniors because they need to appease and supplicate, satiate the demands of the politicians so that they enjoy the trappings that come with the office.
So, are we surprised then that in a case where the United States is in this current process, that they seem to ignore it as well? Because if there's such rampant disdain, I'm going to call it disdain, because you would embrace something that you actually respected. But there is such rampant disdain for the rule of law and constitutionalism within a country. Should you be surprised then that the US kind of puts it in the corner and says, we're going to continue having the conversation? Because they've seen how you treat the Constitution in your country. And it wouldn't be far from them to say, well, you don't respect it anyway. Why should we?
Well, I am not surprised. And again, I will refer your readers to somebody called Professor Maesmeyer. And he writes about international relations from a geostrategic point of view. The Americans are here for their strategic interests.
Of course.
So if they find the fools that dot our landscape in the name of politicians who are willing and ready to advance their interest, why not? They will go along. Ours is to remind them of the touted universal values. We speak of the rule of law. We speak of constitutionalism. Today it is convenient for you because you need your Ebola issues addressed. But what will come tomorrow when people are mass murdered, when the country called Kenya is in chaos and Kenya sits on the precipice? What will happen so that your interests that you so valuable that are so valuable to you and you continue to speak about every now so often are no longer guarded because the country is in is in fire.
But the courts in America are supreme. The courts in the US, when they pronounce themselves on particular issues, or not just particular, something as detailed as a horse cannot neigh in your neighborhood past midnight in a particular area.
Yeah.
The court has pronounced itself on something like that, and you go by it. This is how they operate.
Yes.
So you say that the interest trumps the inherent belief in constitutionalism, for example, at an external point.
And this is why I was quoting Mesmer. It's about interest. Their interests here are they need the Ebola crisis solved for them. Understand Trump. Trump has this mentality that he doesn't want people who are quote unquote diseased, weak, sick in his territory. Let them be dealt with. If they die outside the territory of the United States. We don't want them bringing that problem here closer to home. In Haiti, they wanted black Africans to solve an essentially black question.
Well, if we want to be serious, it's about a problem that they actually were creating in Haiti.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they always look for the house Negro to help them. And unfortunately, when you don't have principles, when you don't have respect for yourselves, you will readily avail yourself as the house Negro, like we have been parading ourselves to be.
Yeah.
We need to be serious because, for example, look at this Ebola question. Can you arrive at JFK, have a simple cold, and be allowed in? You're from Africa, carrying an African passport.
All you have to do is carry a handkerchief.
Yes. You'll be quarantined. Heck, we are needed to carry ourselves insurance when we go to some of these countries.
Yes.
But how is it that we bend over 60 plus years after independence and allow our flag to be pissed on in the manner it was pissed on? It shows you that there's something fundamentally wrong with our politicians, because it only takes one case mishandled. And I saw the PS Health tell us that, we should be proud of our health systems, that others are so. What did he say? That our health systems are the envy of the rest of the world.
Yes.
And I look at it and I say, boy, you need to be serious. Kenyatta does not have fundamental medicine and equipment.
Yeah.
Ebola in the middle of Mathare, or Korogosho, or Kawangware, and in Nairobi.
Could be like Hiroshima all over again.
Would be Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And because you want to appear like the paid parrot you are, you will now come and give us the usual spin, the usual Cambridge analytical lies. Man, we're not stupid.
Wakili, where we are then, one must ask the question, until when? Because we will talk about the respect of court orders, because even the Constitution itself, which is the grand of orders there is not being respected anyway, you know.
Yes.
And here we are saying, what must then the judiciary or Kenyans do to see to it that orders of the court are respected? Are we seeing a point where these matters might go beyond these individuals being in office, where you disrespect the court order today, but we will wait for you once you're out of the trappings of power and deal with you then? Is that the way to go? Or then, is it important to have, or is it the ceiling of the highest political office in the land to lead in respecting court orders, and we'll see the rest follow?
We must nurture a culture of respect for the Constitution, and that is called constitutionalism.
Yes.
For nothing else but selfish reasons. If you look at major indices around the world, Freedom House, Chatham House, whatever, and these are indices that are usually used by investors and people who want to put in serious capital in countries around the world. They will go to countries where the rule of law and where their capital is assured in terms of the rule of law and how the law works. But when you are a country that is sending the message that law is just but a convenience, you begin the culture of sending away people who potentially will invest in your country. And for no other reason. And I will invite those who are sitting in policy offices and in serious offices in this country to listen. Look at some few years ago, Kenya and Kenyan politicians used to be very arrogant in how we dealt with the region. Heck, we had a minister here called Mwangale who had the audacity to go in public and say about a neighboring country that, in their usual sycophancy, that President Moi, we thank you for ensuring that Kenyans are shining and that we are lustrous, not like our neighboring countries who we see walking around dressed in matambara being torn clothes.
Yeah.
That is the arrogance that we have always carried. But look at Kenya several years later. The hub that was the transport hub, JKIA, is basically a shred.
Yeah.
We are no longer the hub of the region. That has gone to Bole and wait for it, Rwanda, through the several airports it's building. Is going to take a huge chunk of Kenya's pie. Look at new jobs in terms of ICT. While we are doing our stupid things here, Kagame is modeling Rwanda as the regional Estonia. How many companies have fled to Uganda? How many Tanzania? How many countries have fled there? These are tied to the rule of law. So when you are perceived as corrupt, ineffective, and then you couple that up with the stupid things that these politicians and their overfed mandarins give us on TV and radio, I mean, you are basically ruining this country. The country that was the envy of the region is going to be a laughing stock, and we are playing catch up. We need to think. We don't need these half-wits and their army legions of quote-unquote paid bloggers on social media to tank this country.
You talk about the responsibility that the head of the judiciary has when it comes to insisting on certain things.
Yes.
But is it just her? And if it is, what does she need to do beyond coming out and being overt about the position that the country must take? Not maybe, not kind of. Because should we have heard, for example, when these court orders were given, or when this one has been given and it's not adhered to, when commissions have been established for certain things to come and they give reports and then they're not adhered to, when the Auditor General comes out and says, well, certain things need to happen, and that we're asking that investigative agencies take up a procedure to start to interrogate some of these things. Should we hear a more robust, overt judiciary when it comes to things that are going to come back to them anyway? Should we not? Should we hear it regularly? Should it not be that you should be speaking every day?
Certainly, the Chief Justice bears the responsibility as the political head of the judiciary. She needs to be firm. She needs to do what she must as the political head. These other judges are precluded from saying much beyond what they write. So the Chief Justice, primus inter pares, first among equals, must stand and defend her offices and orders given. She enjoys the position of sitting in a number of cross-cutting institutions such as the National Council for Administration of Justice. She sits among these politicians and she must be consistent. If these politicians smell weakness and see that you are willing to play along with their machinations, that is what they will give and dish out to you. So she needs to be firm. In addition, we need to think of Project Kenya beyond these few years. We are running this country in a way that puzzles me every day. If we continue in this manner, and you've seen Kenya's future generation, it is very easy for children to burn their colleagues in dormitories. It's because what these kids are reading, they are reading license. They are reading the rot in the country. And that is why it is easy for them to go on strike because certain musicians were not on the menu for the entertainment functions. I mean, we went to school, me and you, in this country. When did we start striking because Sijui Calligraph Jones was not on the menu for an entertainment functions? It shows you how the country, the radar of the country, the health of the country is. And we need to have a national conversation. And this is tied to respect to institutions.
Yeah.
You cannot have the courts saying this is the law. If you disagree with what the court is saying, go and appeal.
Appeal, yeah.
We don't like what the court says sometimes. I am sometimes very frustrated. But you know that you need to appeal. You cannot have it that people like Rich here going to Dubai to frustrate court orders. Masengeli getting more than 6 opportunities to respect court orders and then being excused in a manner that me and you cannot be excused.
So what would happen on that particular day? I'm sorry, because here we are, we go round and round. Okay, like now this case that CEC Finance Nairobi County is suddenly not in Nairobi.
Yes.
And then we are saying, okay, well, we want to hear from the governor if indeed he actually did facilitate for him to suddenly go on a trip that needed attention in Dubai. Is it because he's in New York or that he can't answer today? Why is it not a today issue?
Why should I give the governor? The contempt is personal.
Yeah.
Why should I hear the governor on it?
Yeah.
We have methods. Issue a warrant of arrest, go through Interpol,
Yes.
get this guy back to Nairobi and let him serve his sentence.
So why don't we hear the court, by the way, that gave these orders? The court that found him in contempt.
Yes.
That said he should be arrested. It's been 2 weeks. Why is that? Why are we not hearing? We have a journalist who goes and digs up the story and puts it out here.
Yes.
And then that's how we get more information about it. What happens where is the court that gave that order? They say they can't find him. Okay, fine. Then they know, everybody knows he's not around. Where do we hear the expression of the court
And
here?
the question is, why is that court
Silence.
Silent.
Why is it silent? Why is it, for the lack of a better term, pussyfooting? Why are you trying to develop water in your belly? For heck, you're a lawyer, first and foremost. Then you're a judicial officer. Yeah?
Okay, we live in a country where there's a time the court gave an order and they were told they will be revisited.
Yes.
2017, you know.
Yes.
And we also know of cases where court officials security have been stripped from them simply because they made certain pronouncements that the leadership was not happy about that. How do such actions beat the overall goal of having constitutionalism entrenched in the society that is Kenya?
Do what you must. Those are the things that these politicians and the executive do. They'll be sorted out. And we have partners and friends out there who called out the executive when they withdrew security. From the DCJ then. When those we will revisit arguments were made. And surprisingly, the gentleman who made the we will revisit argument was back before court when his son's gun story emerged.
Yeah.
People forget that today you have the power and you can do whatever you want, including threatening judicial officers. But tomorrow you'll need these same courts. Let the system work using neutral principles. Judicial officers must do what you are required to do by law. Every other thing, let the chess pieces fall where they fall.
Yes.
There are other people who will deal with them. But you as a judicial officer, I have sentenced Kerich.
Right. The court and the judge that gave these conservatory orders for the stoppage of this process of the quarantine facility.
Yes.
What power then do they have? Because it is very clear that the United States and I guess Kenya executive are hell-bent on continuing with this, ignoring this court process.
Yes.
I don't know if somebody's being spoken to. I don't know if they're having a meeting later to say, okay, well, can we ease up on this? What would their position be when you very well see that the orders that you've given then are not being adhered to, what would be the next action from them?
Well, in terms of the authority, I don't use the word power. We need to remind these people that they are subservient to the Constitution. Authority. Look at Article 165 as read with Article 23 of the Constitution. That is where the High Court, sitting as Constitutional and Human Rights Division, draw its authority from. The court was properly within its mandate to issue those injunctive orders, the conservatory orders, because everything, tutti, as the Italians say, everything, all, anything done in the name of the Republic of Kenya is subject of review and scrutiny by the judiciary. Now, what do they do when their orders have been defied? That is where the Chief Justice comes in.
Okay.
That is where the Chief Justice comes in. And the Chief Justice must be firm to say, and of course by extension, my President Charles Kanjama, that we have court orders in existence. It will not be business as usual. And I've told you that even to drastic extent, if this habit continues, we will down our tools. We are not going to process anything. We will not hear anybody from the government until and unless you respect court orders. Because the reverse is true. Because when we continue dealing with them and they defy court orders, tomorrow a man from Kibera or Karibangi will say, why is it me that I'm being hunted for this simple chicken offense and wakubwa kule juu are not being held to the same standards? I will lose trust in the court. I will develop a taste for the machete as means for resolving disputes. So the courts, the judiciary, parliament, I'm not excusing that. I hear some people call it an holy house. I'm not excusing them. They are part of the cog that is supposed to nurture and defend democracy. They need also to come in and say, we need to keep this law and this edifice called law working. Because when it collapses, nobody will be spared. Not your property, not your children, not your relatives. And we have seen Kenya totter on the brink a couple of times. Those are warning signs.
I mean, we need examples. So, for example, Kerichi now comes back and appears in court. The court has already made an order. You're supposed to serve time. And if the individual appears in court, only two options: either you serve time or you appeal the orders that were given, right?
Yes.
But we need to see an insistence from the court that I already made my order and you ought to respect that. Like in the case of Masengeli, he was given six opportunities to appear. I know for a fact Aseta would not be given a second opinion to appear. So it can't appear then that the court as well is seen to be favoring other Kenyans as opposed to just being the equal arbiter of everything that comes before them, you reckon?
I agree with you, and I will give you, we have very firm judges on the bench. We have, and these politicians know who to play and dance around with. You remember when CJ Maraga was around, or CJ Mutunga? They knew you're not going to mess around. We have Justice Chacha Mwita, Justice Nyakundi. The judges were known. You'll not play around and expect to be excused. So even the individual judicial officers must know that. Why is it that these people find it easy to just play games around with orders that are issued? The Chief Justice must ask, why is it that even external actors find it fashionable to, during my tenure, to consistently show the middle finger to the judiciary? You need to be firm. If it was Justice Ogada, and probably that is why I may not get to the bench, there's some nonsense that cannot be brooked around me. I will issue my orders, and if need be, kanuke. I will be firm on those orders, because that is the oath. And the judicial officer has two oaths on him or her. You have your oath as a lawyer, and you have an oath as a judicial officer. You need to be serious about those oaths.
So So where do you see things going? Because there seems to be such a toss-up at the moment in terms of who's going to do what and then who needs to bell the cat. But then where do you see things going? Because it just does seem a little bit discouraging at the moment.
The courage of principle. One of my favorite jurists from Africa, Justice Disdain Moseneke, DCJ, former DCJ South Africa, speaks of the courage of principle. When you stand on the mountain of principle, you are safe. So judges, lawyers stand on principle. That is how to rescue the country. That is the starting point. 2, the political leadership. And by political leadership, I include the Chief Justice in that category, need to know that there is so much at stake that will be lost if we don't farm our foundations on the rule of law. Today, we are tottering on the edge. Tomorrow, it might be as well that Kenyans will decide to go the Haiti way. They will lose faith in institutions, in the judiciary. They will go onto the street. Kenyans individually, and I like it that social media has become a ground for very meaningful conversation. Kenyans, continue holding your leaders to account. Continue doing what is right. When it comes to elections, look at who is standing for what is right, what is principled. If they are not doing the correct thing, you know what to do. Vote them out.
Yeah.
If we don't, and I tell my countrymen this, if we don't think about the future of this country, the telltale signs are there. We are falling behind. We are engaged in a cacophony here, a lot of noise, a lot of thievery happening in this country. This country is going down the drain. And when we couple that with lawlessness, their demise will be sooner than later. Unfortunately, I am today the prophet of doom, and that is what is staring at us.
What's the worst that could happen if you had a judicial officer who then insisted on certain things according to the law? What's the worst that could happen? Because it seems as though folks might be a little bit afraid of actually doing what the law says.
The question is, why are you afraid?
Exactly.
As an individual, you have nothing to be afraid of. You're not taking bribes. You're not being fed by any politician. You have no favors to dole out. You do your work as known by the law. Why should you be afraid? Because those who are afraid, they need to tell us, why am I afraid? Why am I spineless? Why am I afraid?
It was behind the fear.
What is behind the fear? Because, and Chief Justice Mutunga has written this in his book, the Beacons book. He gives an account of, was it the Beacons or he gave it in some speech, where some money was sent to his account, wired to his account, some hefty amount of money. And his bank alerted him to that. He immediately ordered for that money to
Go back to where it came
from, and he reported. The same with Maraga. So those are people who knew the shenanigans that go behind the scenes, and they knew that they had to be as clean and pristine as the proverbial Caesar's wife. That is why they were able to stand on the firm mountain of principle. These ones who are afraid of doing the right thing, they should tell us, why is it that I'm afraid? If you're afraid, you have no business being a lawyer, number one. You have no business being a judicial officer. Go and do other things, but not the business of law.
Yeah. I mean, time is running off, but this is also a clarion call to Kenyans as well, because we look at the political class, but we are the ones who vote them, who elect them in. We elect individuals who already have cases in court. So it's therefore upon us, if we want things to be good, we can't be out of the question. We must look at people we put in.
Oh, yes. And the virtues of citizenship. Who is a citizen? Because I see people going for, the other day, my father's home county of Kisumu, some young men were out on the street moaning that they were only given 450 shillings. Why would you take 450 shillings to be the agent of violence and instructions for a politician? you are cheapening your value because that 450 will probably buy you something very cheap.
Yes.
Not even 2 meals in a day.
2 pizza.
Yeah. And when you become that agent, when you cheapen yourself that way, that's what these politicians smell in you. And we have some of the most decrepit, most stupid people in our political scene. People who cannot tell left or right. We need to think as a country.
Justice Thursday conversation today also goes from what is the situation to what it can and should be. Wakili Evans Ogada has been here with us this morning. Thank you for being in the Situation Room this morning on Justice Thursday.
Thank you.
It's a hope for a better time.
Santi.
Looking forward to the next conversation. Good morning, folks.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.